Okay, class, today's lesson is on concussions. Do we have any questions?
Professor, what are the problems associated with concussions and what is currently being done about it?
For years, nobody had thought that playing a sport with constant head contact would cause any problems down the road. Nobody even really understood concussions until many athletes started receiving them. Concussions cause temporary unconsciousness caused by a blow to the head. This can be achieved through both direct and indirect contact. The brain begins to swell up and causes the brain to function differently. With the development of new research and technology, doctors can now associate concussions with future health problems. Concussions are currently the talk among all sports that involve head contact. The most common disease associated with concussions is chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE. It is the buildup of tau, an abnormal protein that strangles brain cells. CTE is a degenerative disease, which means it will continue to grow and get worse as one gets old.
Here comes the, here comes the, here comes the, y'all don't really want it like that. Yeah. Here comes the, no, here comes the.
In the past, people thought that the effects of concussions would not be noticed for years, but this is not always the case. For example, Preston Pleverdes knows exactly how dangerous receiving multiple concussions in a football game is. It was just a normal football play until Pleverdes was hit directly in the head. Already having a concussion, Pleverdes received another concussion on this play, which caused his body to go into shock, or as he says. He fell straight to the ground, and everybody knew it was bad. He ended up having half of his skull removed and was in surgery for a couple of days. Pleverdes ended up surviving this terrible tragedy, but the immediate effects changed him forever. He now has a speech impairment and has troubles walking, as he says. The doctors that performed the surgery on Pleverdes said that sustaining concussion while you already have one will cause the brain to swell and become a major threat to your life. These double hits do seem to be associated with symptoms that last longer than a single hit. As in the Pleverdes case, concussions can clearly cause health problems immediately. CTE causes the most side effects of receiving many concussions. CTE can cause people to develop memory loss, aggression, headaches, and many other issues. Recent studies have shown that many athletes tend to develop this disease over time. For example, a study conducted by Julian Bales, instructor at UCLA, looked at the brains of 5 former NFL players. She found that every one of them had CTE, and they all show side effects of having it. Some of them have dementia, while some even have suicidal thoughts. Researchers there now have examined the brain tissue of 128 football players who, before their deaths, played the game professionally, semi-professionally, in college, or in high school. Of that sample, 101 players, or just under 80%, tested positive for CTE. Many professional leagues used to have poor concussion protocols, which ultimately gave athletes even more concussions. The doctors would assume the players were okay and they would go right back into the game. Now concussion protocols are way better. They have a whole list of things that need to happen before a player can return to a game. Many rules and regulations have come around too. For example, the NFL now has strict enforcement of player safety rules, more intensive player education, and internal studies. Professional sports leagues want their players to be safe. Millions of dollars have gone into concussion research, developing neuropsychological testing, and return to play guidelines. There will be more education about concussions for all athletes. You can never be too young to learn about concussions. All athletes have to participate in the pre-participation assessment, which is baseline concussion test, brain history test, symptom evaluation, cognitive assessment, and a balance evaluation. Concussions have become a very big issue, especially when talking about athletes playing sports. There are many terrible effects when receiving too many concussions. However, there is good news. Many athletes and coaches are learning more and more about concussions. Also, lots of people are investing their time and money in finding out how concussions can be limited in professional sports. As for now, concussions will still be the talk of the sports world.